This is Support is Sexy, episode 467, with MonicaMotivates, founder and CEO of MonicaMotivates. Welcome to Support is Sexy. I'm your host, Elayne Fluker, entrepreneur, author, and founder of Chic Rebellion Media. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I bring you inspiring women entrepreneurs who share their wins and lessons to help you take your business to the next level. Here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Support is Sexy. I'm happy to have you here. It just would not be the same without you. And since you're listening to this podcast, I'm guessing you're a podcast listener or you enjoy podcasts. But if you're a woman entrepreneur, have you ever thought about using podcast guesting as a way to grow your business? I'm telling you, it is a great marketing strategy. Not only do you grow your business, but you get to connect with new audiences again and again without creating your own podcast, although that's great. But consider podcast guesting. New audiences, new people, you get to share your message again and again and be of service. Now, if you haven't done it before, maybe you're a little rusty, don't worry. I want you to download my free guide on how to be an unforgettable podcast guest at girlonpodcastgift.com. That's girlonpodcastgift.com. Learn how to be an unforgettable podcast guest for all the right reasons. Now, did you know that only 2% of women-owned businesses crack the $1 million annual revenue mark? Isn't that surprising, especially when you think about the number of women-owned businesses that are launching in the United States alone? I believe it's 5 times the national average. We have struggled to crack the $1 million mark. And the reason I mention that is because in this episode today, MonicaMotivates, who is founder and CEO of MonicaMotivates, talked to us about some of the reasons that we as women struggle to reach that $1 million mark. Now, yes, some of it, of course, is access to capital. Some of it, of course, is access to certain networks, but some of it is mindset. And that's what we talk about today, mindset. So some of the things you'll hear Monica and I talk about today are how to be okay with having to pivot from your original plan, how to decide what your definition of success is and then redefine it, what keeps most of us on the sidelines in our businesses and our lives, why many of us are playing way too small, and why Monica says you have to surround yourself with people who are dreamers, right? It's all about the 5 people you spend the most time with. So I'm happy you're spending some time with me and Monica today. So without further ado, MonicaMotivates. So Monica, thank you so much for joining us for an episode of Support is Sexy. I'm excited to have you here.
Thank you so much. I am so honored to be here to speak to your dynamic audience.
Excellent. So our first question, when did you first fall in love with entrepreneurship?
You know, I fell in love with entrepreneurship actually at a very early age. I literally wanted to go to school to become a cardiologist and wanted to really make a difference in this world by saving people's lives. And when I realized that I actually had a fear of blood, I realized that I had to quickly pivot.
Right.
And I said to myself, well, what can you do that still is in the arena of saving people's lives, but not quite where you have to do open heart surgery and have their blood splatter all over you? So I decided to really look at helping people through coaching and through really helping them discover their North Star. And it started off as just something that I was doing, you know, complimentary. I was considered an expert with my friends and colleagues. And then I started realizing that I could actually pivot and really turn this into a full-time business. So this was in my mid-20s when I was like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and develop a exit strategy from corporate America and go ahead and do this entrepreneurship thing full-time.
Now, what were you doing in corporate America at the time? So you pivoted from cardiology to corporate America to coaching?
Yeah, so I'll tell your audience that one of the things that I really stress to everyone is be okay with having to pivot from your original plan. So my original plan was to become a cardiologist, and my sophomore year in college, I realized I wasn't going to do that anymore. And so I decided to do the corporate track, and I began working for the Coca-Cola company. And I spent 15 years there, having a lot of success, but realizing that there was definitely a void inside, that I was making a lot of money and doing a lot of cool stuff, but realized that my life had a much higher purpose. And so one of the things that I would say is, as you're going through this journey, make sure that you realize that it's okay to pivot and do things that you're comfortable doing. So I literally was an acting global director of strategy and innovation when I decided to leave. So I had accountability for Asia Pacific, for Latin America, for Europe, for Africa, basically for the entire world. And on paper, it was a very glamorous position. If you can think about the fact that you are dealing with constituents across the globe, you have stock options, you have global travel, and everything on paper looks very glamorous. But to everyone listening today, what I would really stress to you is, if you know that you have been called to do something else, because each of us have a personal calling, if you know that you've been called to do something else, don't ignore that calling. Don't ignore that little voice that keeps whispering to you to say, yeah, you know that you should really go out there and follow that dream. You know that you should really go out there and pursue that purpose and that North Star. Because unfortunately, many of us end up exchanging our time for money and never truly living a fulfilling life. Instead, we watch life pass us by instead of actually thriving. And I stress to each of you, if you know that you're doing something right now where you're really just watching life pass you by, and inside you know that you were called to do something differently and you want to thrive in this life, don't ignore that, because it's okay to walk away from what everyone else thinks is your definition of success and truly live your life on your terms and follow your authentic purpose.
So for everyone listening who does hear that message and it really resonates with them, it resonates with me, and I feel like I'm at least on my journey, and still whenever I hear it, it's just, it's a powerful message to hear, especially when it comes along at a time when you really need it. So for those listening, the women listening who are there, who resonate with what you said, but they have that fear about just what you said towards the end, worrying about what other people say you should be doing, or I'm sure for you, or I would imagine, I shouldn't say I'm sure, I would imagine for you, people are like, why are you leaving that good job? And you have a great job, and all these other things they say about, like you said, looks good on paper. How do we get beyond that?
Well, I think that it first starts with self-love. So many of us are going through life trying to prove something to everyone else. And so you're basing your life on all these external factors, making sure that you have the beautiful house, making sure that you have the fancy car, making sure you have all these things that, quite frankly, will give you temporary moments of happiness, but will not give you what's called long-term sustained joy. And so many of us, unfortunately, work so hard on the outside trying to put up this facade to the world that we never do the due diligence to really go deep within, to really say, what is it that I truly want from this life? And why am I spending so much time trying to prove to the world that I'm good enough, that I'm successful? And so many of us don't take time to define success on our own terms, because quite frankly, I could have continued in corporate America going up the ladder and having amazing success by everyone else's definition of what success is. But I truly knew that for me, my life had a much higher calling than really just doing what everyone else expected of me. And I would say to each of the listeners today is, truly go deep within. Because when you go deep within, you start to dig away some of that stuff that you've been suppressing for years and really get to the core of, what is it that I truly want to do with my life? What is it that I want my legacy to be? One of the saddest things that I see is that when people are on their deathbed and they literally are saying, I lived my life according to what everyone else wanted from me. I stayed late at work to close those $1 million deals that no one will ever remember. And in the meanwhile, I neglected my family. I neglected my dreams. I neglected what I truly wanted out of this life. And so I would say to each of you, whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're in corporate, if you know that you're not living your life to the fullest purpose and you're not truly walking in your authentic shoes, truly take some time to reflect tonight and really say to yourself, whose life am I truly living? Am I living the life that everyone expects of me? Or am I living a life where I truly know that I'm doing what I know that I was called here to do, that I'm making an authentic difference? And when I leave this earth, people will say, I truly know that this individual lived their life according to their own terms and according to their own definition of success and according to what they knew was their true North Star.
What was that first step like for you once you made that decision? Like you said, went within and decided this is not it, no matter how glamorous this looks on paper. I'm not doing the thing that I feel will make the most impact in my life and in the life of others in this way. So what was the first step for you? Did you do research and things before you made the move to leave your job, or what did it look like for you?
Yeah, I think for me, the first thing was that I based my initial definition of success on really shaky terms. So if you
Mm.
think about what many of us are trained to do, depending on what generation you are, whether you're Gen X, Gen Y, millennials, etc., many of us are trained to, really have financial success, to go out there and get the highest paying job, get something that gives you stock options, get something that really will fill your bank account up fast and make sure that, you have these fabulous investments and all that stuff. I'm not, saying that stuff is bad, because literally, I don't think that being financially independent and wealthy is a bad thing. What I do think is not so healthy is the fact that, according to the latest Gallup poll, 82% of individuals are not satisfied with their jobs. That the number one day for heart attacks in America is on Monday, where people are falling out dead because they don't want to go to the job or whatever they're doing to earn money.
Mm.
And so when you think about some of those metrics, you realize that if you are basing your standard for success on what everyone is expecting of you, then you're going to live a life that is truly never fulfilled or fulfilling, because quite frankly, you're living a life that you're wearing a mask all the time. And so when I thought that my goal was to get to six figures and that would just make me so incredibly happy and life would be perfect. And so I spent like those first years in corporate America just chasing promotions and chasing that drug of validation, and like, oh my gosh, Monica, you got another promotion. Oh, Monica, you're good enough. You're worthy now. And so many of us go through life where we're chasing validation, chasing acceptance, chasing what everyone else's opinions are. And what I would say to everyone listening today is, quite frankly, you will figure out that if you're chasing money, if you're chasing all these things that are not sustainable, then you're going to really find yourself feeling very empty. You're always going to wonder, why is there that void? And so if you think about the fact that you really want to be happy and you want to feel this sense of satisfaction, but it keeps eluding you, well, one of the major reasons is because you are literally not taking the time to really understand, what do you want out of this life? So once I got to six figures, and back to your original question, once I got to six figures and realized that, oh my God, this is not what I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm. Now, was that because of the amount of work, or was it because it just didn't feel different once you got there, or what was it about hitting that mark?
Because I was basically just exchanging my time for money. I wasn't doing anything that I was passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing work that was paying me a lot of money, but I was not happy with the work that I was doing. There was nothing about the work that was very fulfilling. It looked good on paper, but as India Ari stated, and she did this beautiful interview with Oprah, I was like this beautiful glass building, and on the outside, the glass building was beautiful, but on the inside, all the glass was crumbling.
Mm.
Because it was like it was a beautiful exterior surface that looked like, oh, she's so happy. She has everything together. She's happily married. She has her 2 kids. She has her nice house. Like all this stuff that was very on the surface looked very happy. But then I realized that, yes, I was happy with my husband and happy with my beautiful kids, but I was not happy with where I was spending the majority of my time. So if I was going to spend the majority of my time away from the people who I loved most, I was like, I should be doing something I really enjoy and something that's making a difference. And what I was doing was making a difference for the bottom line of a corporation, but it was not making a difference to me for what I wanted to give back to this world. And many of us get off track because we literally, when we're 8, 9 years old, that's when we really have our truest, authentic self of what we want to truly do with our lives. And so when I was 8, I knew I wanted to be a cardiologist. And so many of us, if we would go back to our childhood and really think about what did I want to do as a little girl, as a little boy, you'll start to find some of the things that you were passionate about and that you may want to reconsider revisiting no matter what stage of life you're in.
So for you, was it helpful to have the support of your husband in this transition, knowing that once you made the decision to make that move, that how did that work for you, and having that discussion for women who both are in relationships and even the ones who are not? Because sometimes we're thinking it's going to look a certain way for us because it looked a certain way for you, and it might be different. So I'm just interested in what it looked like for you.
Yeah, and so whether you're in a relationship or not, I want each of you to know, have someone who has your back. So one of the biggest investments that you'll make is finding the right mate. So my husband and I have been married for almost 15 years, and he's my best friend. And we support each other in our dreams and goals. And we're actually both full-time entrepreneurs.
Mm.
If you're not married, still have that aunt, have that cousin, have that friend who still has your back, who's like, you know what, girl, you know what, dude, I got your back. I believe in you. Because I'm going to tell you, and I'm just going to be completely transparent with you, entrepreneurship isn't for everyone. But I'll tell you, if you are determined to go out here and follow your dream, more than likely, you're going to find yourself wanting to get out and do something on your own and take a chance on yourself at some point in your life. What I highly recommend is that you have to be strong, and you have to be someone who does not just go with the wind when based on everyone's opinions. 98% of the people thought I was absolutely crazy and was losing my mind when I said I was leaving this fancy corporate title behind. But those 2%, my mom and my husband, who had my back, who believed in me, who knew that, you know what, Monica, you can go out here and kill it. Those are the people that you want in your corner. You want to really protect that inner circle, because quite frankly, you're going to end up, as the phenomenal Jim Rohn says, you're going to end up being like the 5 people that you surround yourself with.
Mm-hmm.
And if the 5 people you surround yourself with are not dreamers, or not visionaries, don't have any type of long-term goals for themselves, of course they're going to be fear-based and tell you to stay right where you are and tell you to never try to pursue anything greater. But I'll tell you, when you surround yourself with visionaries, the world completely changes. When you surround yourself with people who are going places, the world is a beautiful place. But if you surround yourself with the turtles who are just in the weeds, who can't see above the grass, then you're going to stay down there thinking that your vision is just in the grass also. But if you surround yourself, as T.D. Jakes so beautifully said, with the eagles, you will continue to soar and fly. But it's your choice.
That's right. Now, was that a key for your, in beginning your business, MonicaMotivates, making sure that you were around, in addition to your family, but even for those listening, if it's not family, like you said, it's friends, or I always say masterminds or support groups. So there's so many ways to get around people who are, even if not doing the same exact thing, but visionaries, dreamers, people who are in action, Was that a key, would you say, success factor for you?
Absolutely. I established a board of directors when I was in my 20s. And the board of directors changed throughout the years. It evolved. People came on and people went off. But I think that everyone should have a personal and professional board of directors. Your personal board of directors are basically those individuals who literally, when you are at your lowest moment, when things are not going well, you need to confide in people. You need to have these 5 individuals who you can reach out to. And these people should be very trustworthy. They should be givers in your life. They should be people who at any moment will say, I got you. I understand what you're going through. I literally get you. Let's talk about this. Let's talk this through. From a professional perspective, you also want to have a board of directors for your business. And this is really critical because I always tell people you have to be serious about the way that you treat your brand. And if you are not taking your brand seriously, no one else will take it seriously. So literally have your personal board of directors and your professional board of directors, because these individuals are going to be the ones who get you through some of those tough moments along with your faith, but they're going to really be there to help you navigate through this journey called entrepreneurship, or those in corporate America through this journey called working through corporate politics.
Now, you mentioned that at 8 years old, you knew you wanted to be a cardiologist until the whole blood thing happened, or we learned about that. But how would you describe a young Monica in general?
A young Monica was someone who literally wanted to prove herself. So, depending on the type of foundation that each of you come from, my husband is a builder, so I do a lot of construction metaphors as I'm talking about things. But literally, if you come from a shaky foundation, you're going to find yourself almost wanting to be validated. And so I literally came from, my parents got divorced when I was 8 years old. And it was a very challenging time for me because I put the blame for the divorce on myself and thought that, oh my goodness, why are they not together? And there are many reasons why the marriage didn't work. But when you're 8 years old, you feel like somehow you contributed to the problem. And so I said, you know what? My life is going to be perfect. I'm going to have the perfect job. I'm going to have the perfect kids. I'm going to have the perfect husband. My life is going to be absolutely perfect. So I became a perfectionist at 8 years old, and I started writing out very extreme goals of wanting to be a cardiologist, wanting to go to the best medical school, wanting to marry a wonderful husband, wanting to have 2 beautiful kids. So I wrote all this stuff out, and literally, I made these very detailed plans. But as everyone knows, life happens. And so one of the things that I would say to everyone on the podcast is forgive yourself. Give yourself grace. So I call myself a recovering perfectionist because I felt like, because I was raised by a single mom, that I always had to overcompensate for that. That I always had to be the best, that I always had to look the best, sound the best, present the best. And at some point along the way, I had to let that go, because I knew if I was going to leave corporate behind and come out here and do entrepreneurship full time, there was absolutely no room for perfectionism in entrepreneurship. And so what I find, especially with a lot of my female clients, is that we are such perfectionists. We want everything perfect. We want to have all of our ducks lined up before we take any type of risk on ourselves. And if it's just one person who takes this away from the podcast today, let go, surrender. Because if you keep holding on to wanting everything to be perfect, learn from my mistakes. You're going to end up living a life that is a complete lie, and it's a complete facade. So I spent 15 years in corporate America pretending to be happy, pretending that I was happy with my professional life. My personal life was great. My professional life, I really was miserable in. But I thought that I had to keep getting those promotions to prove to the world that I was good enough, that, you know, the positions and the titles defined me. And so I was living a life defined by my ego and not a life defined by going in and doing the hard work of really getting to the core of that. You know what, Monica? If you will do some of that deep work inside, you won't need to have all this validation on the outside. And so now, as a full-time entrepreneur, I tell you guys, I don't care what anyone thinks about the stuff I do, what they say. And it's a hard place to be there because you put yourself out there, but I literally am like, I know why I'm putting this out there. So if you don't agree with it, if you have other views about it, I respect it, but I don't have time to go back and forth with you because I'm comfortable with Monica. And if you're not comfortable with Monica, that used to be in my old world, that used to be my problem, but no longer is it my problem. And I'll tell you that freedom of letting go, that freedom of letting go of your ego, of being defined by your ego, of letting your life be controlled by your ego, is something that if people would just embrace that concept, would take you such a long way.
What would you say now that your work sort of centers around helping your clients step into the arena? I saw that language, I believe, on your website or doing research on you. What would you say is the thing that keeps many of us choosing to play small? Is it this fear of what other people think, or is it something else that you find either in the clients you work with or just in your overall experience?
What keeps most of us on the sidelines as spectators with our life is that many of us truly don't believe that we are worthy of following our true dream, our true North Star, and our true calling. And so we live a life that's very safe. And a safe life is nothing to be ashamed of. You know, a safe life will keep you right in the middle. You will have, you know, basic levels of success. But when it comes to really, truly walking in your calling, you can truly say that I lived a life that was defined by my own terms. See, unfortunately, many of us are letting what success is be dictated to us. So you're holding on to stuff that has been ingrained in your head, that and this broken record keeps playing over and over to say to you, you have to do it this way. You have to go to college for 4 years. You have to go and get a great job. You have to go and stay in that job for 30 years. You have to defer any type of true sustained happiness for those 30 years. And then when you're 60 years old, you take all the money that you've saved up and then you live a life of happiness. Then you can go on the nice fancy vacations and travel the world. And what I would tell each of you is that, quite frankly, this deferred method of deferring your happiness until your 401k says that you now can live a life of freedom, it's a model that's outdated, and one that I truly recommend that you go deep within and see, is that truly the model you want to live on? Because unfortunately, when you study people as they're retiring, many of them are spending their 401k to try to sustain their health. So because they haven't been walking in their authentic purpose for so many years, it slowly and slowly has taken its toll on their health. And then by the time they're able to retire, they're having to spend most of those funds into fighting diabetes, into fighting hypertension, heart disease. And that is just no way to live. And so I'll tell you that even though by taking the risk on yourself, initially you may not have as much on paper as some of your counterparts who are choosing the traditional path, but I'll tell you, as is so beautifully stated in the 4-hour work week, your wealth will be so much greater in the freedom that you have for being able to do things according to your vision, being able to go to your kids' functions, being able to take vacation for a month if you want to, and not having to think about what anyone says about it. So it's truly up to you about whether you're going to continue to do what you're doing or whether you're going to say, I'm sick of being a spectator and watching life pass me by. I'm getting inside the arena. It's not going to be easy, but I'm willing to take the risk to really live my true life.
Now, you also teach people how to understand their different personality types. So what are the personality types that we should know about, and how can we better understand, especially as women entrepreneurs, how these personality types affect our businesses?
So one of the things that I really encourage everyone, if they have not done a personality assessment, is to learn what your personality is. There are 16 unique personality types. So everyone fits into one of those 16 personality types, and it's a Myers-Briggs assessment. And if you have never taken one, go to 16 personalities.com. So it's 16personalities.com, and take a free assessment there. I don't get paid by this organization. I just think it's a really good resource that you can use if you've never taken a personality assessment. So here's where I think you can really use it in your business. One of the things that broke my heart when I was in corporate America was the number of women who came in to pitch to me who were not prepared at all. They didn't understand the individuals in the room they were speaking to. They didn't do the proper research. They didn't know the personality types. And so they would come in and pitch and completely not understand their audience. And so if you were to do your due diligence to really learn the personality types of the people that you're doing business with, the people that you are literally closing deals with or trying to close deals with, it will take you so far. Because quite frankly, every time I go into a meeting, I literally take time to research that individual to understand, okay, should I go in leading with data, or should I go in really leading with a story or a vision? And if you get it wrong, that person is going to check out on you within the first 3 minutes of the meeting. Now, they're going to be polite and let you stay for your pitch, for your strategy session, etc. But they're not going to bring you back. And so I stress to each of you, learn the personality type of yourself, everyone on your team, so all the people who work for you, and anyone that you're trying to do business with. Because if you go in there and you're pitching to an INTP, so an INTP is someone who's introverted, who's intuitive, who's a thinker and a perceiver. If you go in there and you start talking about your kids and how beautiful a day it is and all these things that are very visionary, they're going to check out on you because they're very fact-based individuals. They want you to get straight to the data, come in with your charts and your numbers. But then if you go into a meeting with an ENFP, well, that's an extroverted, intuitive, feeler, perceiver, and you don't come prepared, with the story, and you go straight to the numbers and the data and the charts, they're going to check out on you because they want to hear the vision first. So it's those little subtle things that we can do to really separate ourselves from the competition.
So how do we know then what type of people are in the room? Is it something before we get in that room that is doing the research, as you mentioned, finding out if we're having a meeting with someone, getting a sense of what their personality is beforehand?
So the most powerful tool that's out there for you, so you're going to have a calendar invitation with most people who are in the room. There may be someone who shows up who wasn't on the original invitation that literally you just couldn't prepare for. But LinkedIn should be your best friend. So everyone is one or two connections separated from anyone who you're going to meet with. So I'm going to have the pleasure of meeting with a very senior venture capitalist in the next few weeks. And so I'm doing all my due diligence now as I prepare my presentation for this individual to understand his personality type. What are some of the nuances about how he likes presentations? Does he want to lead with data? Does he want to lead with the vision? So if you will really maximize LinkedIn, and I'm still so surprised at the number of people who don't maximize LinkedIn and reach out to people who know these individuals, because they can give you enough information for you to make an educated guess on what type of personality type they are.
Mm-hmm. That's a good idea. I'm one of those people learning how to maximize LinkedIn. And you're the second. I've done 5 interviews today, I think. And you're at least the second or third person who's mentioned the importance of LinkedIn in your business. So everyone pay attention. There's
It's so
reaping and keep
important.
coming up. Yes,
Yes.
not just posting your information and leaving it, right?
No, it's so important. I mean, literally LinkedIn can give you so many strategic partnerships and connections. And I'm going to put this stat out here, and I'm going to say this in a way that literally is really a sad stat. But if you think about the number of entrepreneurs out here, and if you think about the number of African American female entrepreneurs, less than 1% of African American female entrepreneurs have a net profit of $100,000 or more at the end of each calendar year.
Less
So
than 1%.
less than 1%.
Mm.
And if you think about the percentage you're getting venture capitalist funding, it's only 0.2%. And so I say this to the entire global audience that's listening. The stats aren't much better for women. And I just came back from Cameroon, where I was speaking to entrepreneurs who are looking to get funding for their MVP or minimum viable product.
Mm-hmm.
And literally the stats across the world are not that great. So if you are not someone who looks like the CEOs of most Fortune 500 companies, you are literally facing an uphill battle when it comes to funding for your business and when it comes to strategic partnerships. So I challenge you to make sure that when you go into these meetings and you are invited to pitch and you're invited to have a seat at the table, you go in there so that there's absolutely no reason that they can turn away and not do business with you.
Mm-hmm. So the meeting that you have coming up with the venture capitalist, is it about doing a program or a speech or something for this person's company, or is it about working together in some way? Just so people have a sense of in
Yeah,
what cases you can use this to research someone.
absolutely. So I am holding a global supplier diversity conference September 27th here in Atlanta. And so this individual is someone who we are looking to both have as a speaker, and also someone who we're looking to have on the board of directors for our organization. So it's both a short-term and a long-term view for this particular individual. And the reason for that is because I understand what it's like to pitch to corporations and to pitch to VCs. And literally one of the parts of MonicaMotivates is to go back out and educate individuals how to also have that door open for you, so that you're not working so hard and hard and hard to really literally just be able to meet your payroll. But instead, you're literally able to say, you know what, I'm taking a month off and I'm going to Italy for a month. And you're not sitting here worried for that month about whether the business is going to be able to sustain itself. But instead, you've already closed the deal on several multi-million-dollar contracts for the year. So as long as your team is executing against them, then you're not concerned about being, in the office every single day, because your team is working and getting the work done. And it's that mindset that I want more of us to have, is that many of us are playing way too small.
Mm-hmm.
We're not being visionaries. We're not, treating ourselves like a Fortune 100 company. We're treating ourselves more like, okay, I'm just happy that I got this $1,000 deal. No, like really go ahead and do stuff that's going to be game changing for your business. Because if you can close multi-million-dollar contracts, think about the difference you can make in this world. Think about the time that you can free up to go and do stuff that truly is making a difference. So not only are you creating additional employees and contributing to the economy, but then you're able to give back in really sustainable ways. So I challenge each of us listening today, move your business to the next level. Stop playing small. Get in the room and learn how to pitch, learn how to get VC funding, learn how to get these corporate contracts. Because if you're doing and I hate to say it, but if you're the person who is constantly, hustling on Facebook to get a low ticket client, though, that will lead you back to doing stuff you don't want to do, working a job that you're miserable in. Do things that are more strategic. And even if that means that you have to slow down and take time out to build your strategy, stop chasing, this quick, easy, perceived as easy money, but instead build a vision, build a team, build an org chart, understand everyone's place in the org chart. Do the things that only you can do and make sure that everyone else on the team is working in their gift. Because if you are the CEO, the CFO, the CMO, you are doing audit, you're doing taxes, you're doing accounting, you're not operating a business. You're operating a way to run yourself into the ground and run yourself right back into a job where you're exchanging your time for money. But instead, build out your org chart. And even if some of the positions are vacant, it doesn't matter. Put the org chart out there. And as is so beautifully stated in The Alchemist, the universe will conspire to literally make it happen for you. And I wholeheartedly believe that. And I tell you, when I left corporate America, leaving behind that fat check and everything, I was like, oh my God, when that first check didn't hit direct deposit, I was like, what did I do?
Right.
But I'm telling you guys, the universe will conspire to make it happen for you. I wouldn't be on this podcast tonight if I was still exchanging my time for money in a corporate job. I mean, my story wouldn't be that fascinating. But the fact that I had the courage to leave it all behind and go out here and travel to places like New Delhi, India, like Cameroon, to really make a difference in this world, that's what's more compelling. And that's like, people are waiting on your gift. And I'm getting a little, really passionate about this because many of us, people are waiting on your gift and they're not going to see it because you will not take the time to go out and do what you know you got to do. There are people's lives waiting on you, but you want to play it safe and hold on to these crumbs that they're throwing at you. And if you don't mind, can I just break something down really quickly?
Yes.
Okay. So many of you, even if you're making six figures right now, say you're making $200,000 per year. So $200,000 per year, great salary, perceived by everyone. What you're making that corporation is at least 10 to 20 times what they're paying you. So if they're giving you $200,000 per year, at minimum, you're making them $2 million per year.
Mm-hmm.
I would love that type of return on investment. If I'm investing $200,000 and I'm getting $1.8 million in return, that is a huge return on investment. And so many of us, unfortunately, we don't realize what our value is. And so we let people throw crumbs at us and say, okay, I'm going to give you what you perceive as this great paycheck. But in return, you're going to give me 60 to 80 hours of your week. And yes, you're going to make me at minimum, a huge return on my investment. And literally, I don't care if it sucks the life out of you. I don't care if you miss your kids' events. But at the end of the day, this is the deal we made. And so I really, I literally even challenge you guys, look at the annual report for most corporations. If you look at even what the top person is making, the company is making billions of dollars. if they're paying the top leader $20 million, but the company is making billions of dollars, it lets you know that if you will just take a chance on yourself to get out there and do something on your own, what you have the potential of doing. They're paying the top person like crumbs compared to what the corporation is making. Look at some of these P&L statements on these annual reports. Study them, study the numbers. I'm only telling you guys the facts, but study it for yourself, because you all don't know me. So I want you to study it for yourself. Look at these annual business reports of the Fortune 500 companies and look at the CEO's compensation compared to the earning per share that's given back to the stockholders, and literally the net profit each year that this corporation is making. And it will start to make sense that if the top person is getting paid the crumbs also, then quite frankly, I'm getting the crumbs of the crumbs.
Right. I don't even have a word for it, right? And
Right.
so true. I think about that too when people talk about sports, athletes and players, and they make all this money. And I always think, no, the owner of the team
Yes,
makes all, quote unquote, all this money. What they're paying them in
absolutely.
comparison is nothing compared to, and they're putting their bodies through all kinds of changes and abuse and things to play a game, of course, that they love. But still, when you just talk about money, what they're getting compared to what the owner gets, it does not compare.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what would you say, and I know I'm being conscious of time, but I do want to ask, what would you say is the core of your business for anyone listening who is maybe a coach? Is it more so doing speaking engagements and things like that? You mentioned you travel quite a bit and speak at different events, or is it the personal coaching, or is it a combination of those types of things?
So there are 4 strategic pillars of my business, and I'll go over them and I'll tell you why this maps up this way. So I do executive coaching is one strategic pillar where I work with C-suite executives from all these different Fortune 500 companies, and really either help them with their exit strategy out of corporate America, or help them to really maximize their time while they continue to be there. And then from executive coaching, I also do global speaking. So I go and speak to corporations, I speak to startups, I speak to entrepreneurs, really about making sure they understand what is their true North Star. Because if you have employees who are in positions that they are not passionate about, then unfortunately it's literally just an individual who is working 50% of the day and literally sitting there wondering, how did I get here for the rest of the 4 hours that they are paid to do? So I do global speaking, executive coaching, and then I am a global startup judge. So I go around the world and I do things like hackathons or startup weekends, and really help entrepreneurs understand how to scale their business. So many of them are operating in silos. They're a team of one. They don't understand how to scale the business and build strategic partnerships. So I go around and I do that as a global startup judge. And then finally, I work very hard from a global supplier diversity perspective. So I do what's called Pitch University, where I teach entrepreneurs how to either pitch for venture capitalist funding, or I teach them to pitch for corporate contracts. So MonicaMotivates Pitch University launched this year. We've been in Atlanta and San Diego. We have one coming up in Indianapolis. We have one in Atlanta again this weekend. So really teaching entrepreneurs how to pitch their business so they don't go in and just are set up for failure from the minute that they open their mouth in these pitch sessions. And then finally, to wrap all that together, the reason that I only have 4 strategic pillars is because I'm not meant to be everything to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So my target audience is clearly defined with these 4 strategic pillars. I have both an annual business plan and a strategic business plan. And I challenge each of you on this call, if you don't have a strategy in place, get one now. Build it out now. Because what you'll find yourself doing is that you're going to end up chasing every gold shiny object, saying, oh, I need to do this because Monica is doing it. or I need to do this because Elayne is doing it, or I need to do this because this person is doing it. And then you're going to just find yourself sort of in a rut and in a just constant rat race and wondering, well, why did I ever get out here and attempt this business in the first place? Because it feels the same as working my corporate job. And if you're not strategic and really value your time and know that every hour is so valuable, you'll end up wasting so much time doing things that were never a part of the vision, never part of the strategy. And so if it's not my strategy, if it's not in those 4 strategic pillars that I just named out, I don't do it. I don't have time to do it. And I don't have the capacity to do it. My team doesn't have the capacity to do it, but there are other experts out there. There's enough for all of us to achieve what we want to achieve, where you don't have to spend your time like doing stuff you are not passionate about.
Mm-hmm. So in closing, Monica, if you think over your life and career and had the chance to thank only one person whose support was critical to you personally or professionally, who would that be and what would you say?
So this one is really close and dear to my heart. It is my grandmother, and her name is Alpha-Ree Williams. And Alpha-Ree Williams passed away my senior year of college at Emory University. And my grandmother only had a 6th grade education, but she was the absolute smartest woman that I ever knew and have ever known to this day. My grandmother taught me the importance of living a life of integrity, living a life based on values, and living a life based on going for what you truly wanted out of this life. And literally every day that I wake up, I think of Alpha-Ree Williams, and I thank God for her, because what she did, and she didn't get to see MonicaMotivates, and she didn't get to see the success I'm having now. But what she did for me was instill a solid foundation, and she left a solid legacy behind that, Monica, whatever you dream of, whatever you think needs to be done in this world, you are capable of doing. And I have never left that behind. And the beautiful Maya Angelou quote is really what defines her life, is that people may forget what you said, people may forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Alfred Williams, if you're in heaven and able to listen to this podcast, you made me feel like I could conquer the world. And I am forever, and I mean forever, grateful to you, Grandma.
Beautiful, Monica. That was thank you so much for sharing that with us. That was so beautifully said.
Thank you.
Now tell us the ways that we can support you. Tell everyone your website, any social media you'd like to share, maybe about your upcoming event coming up in Atlanta, right? So let us know how we can get in touch with you.
Yes, so absolutely. My website is MonicaMotivates.com. My Twitter handle is @MonicaMotivates. My Instagram handle is @Monica, D as in Darlene, McCoy, MCCOY. My Facebook is @MonicaMotivates LLC. Just search for Monica Motivates and you'll find me. My YouTube channel is Monica Motivates. And then if anyone is interested in learning more about the conference, definitely visit and connect with me on social media. We have the save the date out, and we are allowing people to sign up for the email list to be notified of all the great speakers we have in store for you and what that day is going to look like for you. So just really excited to connect with each of you. And then the final thing I'll say is that if you're ready to do something right now, and you're like, Monica, I am ready, well, go to MonicaMotivates.thinkific, THINKIFIC.com, and put in the code I am ready. I'm going to give you $200 off of my signature e-course. Are you ready to step inside the arena? And you'll be investing $97 in yourself today. So I will make this valid for 30 days from the launch of the podcast. But this is something that literally, if you're looking for that igniter to go ahead and give you some momentum that you need, definitely MonicaMotivates.thinkific.com. And you can also get to it via my website, MonicaMotivates.com.
Okay, so we can get to it from your website too.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll make sure we have links to both, but just in case, if no one catches it, make sure you go to MonicaMotivates.com and you can find it there. And the code is I am ready.
I am ready.
I am ready. Excellent. Monica, thank you so much. This is so great.
Thank you so much, Elayne. It was such a pleasure meeting with you today. And thank you to the entire audience who's listening around the globe. It has been an absolute pleasure to spend this hour with each of you.
Excellent. Now, before you go, what's a parting piece of advice from you to our listeners about anything? If you had to give us one sentence of advice.
It's 3 simple words. You are enough. If you will keep those 3 words in your pockets, no matter what adversity you're facing, you can get through it if you always know that I am enough. You are enough.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Monica. Hopefully you feel inspired to go out there, do the things that you need to do to grow your business and to redefine your success. Now, to find out more about Monica, to find out about the program that she mentioned, make sure you go to supportissexypodcast.com. Go to that search icon at the top and just type in Monica, Monica. Her show notes page will pop up with the links and the resources and the ways to get in touch with her. Supportissexypodcast.com and just search Monica. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you know how much I appreciate you. Until we chat again, always remember that you deserve support. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care.